Hi everybody, I'm Trish Christ. In this episode of Our Nashville, NECAT and our super crew of teenagers spend some time with Cheekwood. President and CEO Jane McLeod and her team are going to show and tell us all the cool things they do in our community. Are you ready, Jane?
Yes.
You ready, super crew?
Yes.
Let's make the show.
It's our Nashville.
Esta es nuestra Nashville.
It's our Nashville. It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
I would say that Cheekwood is a historic estate that now operates as a 55-acre botanical garden, historic home, and museum of art. Cheekwood was built between 1929 and 1932 as an American country place era estate for the Cheek family. It's Mabel Cheek and Leslie Cheek. Mabel's maiden name was Wood, so Wood and Cheek is how you got the name Cheekwood. It was originally a 100-acre estate in west Nashville, and on the estate was a 30,000 square foot Georgian mansion that was built by the family, who had amassed their fortune through a wholesale grocery business and other business operations. However, they also had the good fortune of investing in their cousin's coffee business, which was known as Maxwell House Coffee. And when that sold for $45 million in the 1920s, and they had a portion of that, they decided it was time to build their dream home that they've been thinking about. So they hired Bryant Fleming as both the landscape architect, and the interior designer to create Cheekwood. And the process began in 1929. It was completed in 1932. And it is an extraordinary space. It is actually considered one of the finest American country place era estates in the United States today, primarily because of its intact vistas. So when they built these American country place era estates, they built them out in the country. Think of Biltmore, think of the Newport mansions. That's the period of the American country place era home. Cheekwood is considered one of the finest because the Cheeks were wise enough, under the direction of Bryant Fleming, to select an area that was right next to parkland. So Cheekwood is right next to Percy Warner Park. So the majority of the perimeter of the property is unencroached by suburban development or cities, and you just see these beautiful, incredible Tennessee rolling hills. That makes Cheekwood considered one of the finest remaining country place era estates because its vistas are intact. And it really is an incredibly beautiful place. If I only had one word to describe Cheekwood, it would be beautiful.
That's good.
The second generation of the family gifted the home to open in 1960 as a public institution, as both, at that point in time, a 55-acre botanical garden and a museum of art. Today, the site continues to function as a botanical garden, a museum of art, and also just recently, the first two levels of the home were restored to look exactly like they did in 1930s. So the home now is also a historic space.
My name is Caitlin Bennett. I'm the Assistant Curator of Historic Initiatives. I oversee anything that has to do with the history of the state, the history of the family, restoration, refurnishing, anything like that. The house itself is 18th century Georgian, so it's made to look a lot older than it actually is. That's one of the things I love about this house specifically, because they're evidence of old and new. I mean, new as in 1930s time frame. You have different beautiful Chippendale or Jacobean styled furniture and design and architectural elements built into this house. But there is also a telephone closet. There were 2 elevators. I mean, we are lucky we had the old original inventory from the house in 1932 when the family first moved in, and it had a list of all the the modern appliances that they had in here. So this was very much had all the modern conveniences of that time frame, but it was something that had all the architectural and beautiful splendor of grand estates of the past of Europe and stuff like that. So the loggia was one of the Cheeks' favorite rooms at the house. It was a way for them to fully enjoy, the beauty of the landscape that surround the house and have this indoor-outdoor living experience. And that was the intention of how Mr. Fleming, the architect, designed Cheekwood. That was their entertaining space. So it's a beautiful space. I'm excited to see it, transformed and restored. Of course, always working in a historic property, a restoration is never fully done. We're always finding something new that it's kind of ongoing projects. We began the initial wave of restoration work in 2016. And finished in summer of 2017 and opened in July. And so we did our first batch of major rooms and refurnishing and redesign and everything like that. But it's ongoing. I mean, recently we've just tackled the morning room here and the study upstairs. We finished the stable block. So it's kind of, continual perpetual waves. And there's other restoration projects that we're going to tackle here in, the next several years and stuff like that as we, the campaign continues and stuff. But when this house was built originally, obviously it wasn't perfect. There were times where we have notes from Mr. Cheek to his architect, Bryant Fleming, complaining about water damage or leakage and stuff like that in the house. I mean, the wall that's behind me specifically has had structural issues with water and leakage and stuff in the gutters. And so we were doing structural work and repairs on this wall and ripping everything out. And we had a little bit of a panic in realizing that some of the walls were possibly crumbling, like the wood was breaking down and rotting and stuff inside, but quickly found out it was the old cork insulation that they used in the house. So, there's always kind of something that keeps you guessing when you're doing restoration work and working in a historic property like this.
Tell me about the motivations of the family to share their beautiful property with the public. Why that?
Well, Mabel and Leslie had two children, Leslie Jr. and Huldah. And Huldah married Walter Sharp. And Walter was a lover of the arts. He taught art. He played a role in the beginnings of the Nashville Symphony and the beginnings of the Art Commission, and just that was in his heart. And so when they gifted it as a public institution, the then Nashville Art Museum sold its building. And some of the funds from that sale were used to help with the startup of the operations for Cheekwood, and they gifted their collection of art.
Hi, I'm Campbell Mobley. I'm the Assistant Curator of Exhibitions here at Cheekwood. I decide what exhibitions to bring here from a variety of things. I like to choose works from our permanent collection. I will choose a theme and then choose works from our 8,000-piece permanent collection. Our permanent collection is made up of works on paper, art, photographs, decorative arts, and everything that is here inside our Cheekwood walls. We have some other niche collections. We have a collection of snuff bottles or a collection of portrait miniatures. We are a smaller museum, so we have the opportunity for our collection to tell a different narrative than some of the larger survey museums. So we have a lot of works in our collection by very famous artists, Georgia O'Keeffe, Andy Warhol, Martha Walters, and we're able to tell these stories that are different than the narratives that are being told at some of the larger institutions because we have different holdings. We have a work by Emanuel Lutz that is featured in this show, and he created, of course, Washington Crossing the Delaware. And you can see the similarities in the two pieces. It's an ambitious, melodramatic piece, just as the other work, but we're able to tell that story as opposed to what he's known for the most part in the art world.
Let's talk about the different parts of the grounds themselves, from the Japanese garden to the herb garden. What can someone experience just wandering around outside?
Well, you have an opportunity to see a lot of different specific gardens. Of course, there's the historic gardens near the home, which are the boxwoods. We have an incredible boxwood collection. We have the North American collection of dogwoods, the Carroll Dogwood collection that is, blooming in the spring and a really beautiful time to come. We have and then after the historic core gardens, in the 1990s, several gardens were added. I think one of our favorites, of course, is the Bradford Robertson Color Garden, which is the location for our two big, colorful festivals each year. Cheekwood in Bloom, which features over 150,000 bulbs, 100,000 of those being tulips.
150,000 bulbs. I can't even. That's wonderful.
And continuing to increase, particularly with respect to daffodils. Each year we add thousands more daffodils in the area between the ponds and the mansion, so eventually we'll have just a field of daffodils. But the color garden is really the site for all those tulips. And each year it's a different display, and that's the same area. Then in the fall we have our Harvest at Cheekwood event, where it is ablaze with pumpkins and chrysanthemums, and our signature pumpkin house is just across from there. Our Japanese garden, the Blevins Japanese garden, is also actually considered one of the finest American-style Japanese gardens in the country. One of the favorite places because of the peace and the tranquility. Which is Cheekwood in of itself.
All around it is wonderful.
But particularly the Japanese garden. I mean, it's a place, I always say Cheekwood is a place for joy, but it's also a place for solace. It's a place to come when you just really need some reflective time and some quiet, and the Japanese garden is an incredible area for that. And then the ponds themselves, the Robinson Water Garden, are part of the historic core, but again, just stunningly beautiful, especially during our holiday light show when the lights are reflected up and down into the ponds. Truly beautiful. And then we also have our herb garden, and we have the Burr Garden, which is very cottage garden, sensory, and soon to be a new children's garden. The Bracken Foundation Children's Garden.
I see. Yes.
Which is very evocative of Cheekwood, but really designed to be a place for imaginative, creative play, just free play. There's an art studio, there's a turtle sanctuary.
Oh my goodness.
There's a wishing well, there's Little Woods, which is a one-way in, one-way out area specifically designed for toddlers, with a tea house and a fairy village, and just, everything you could imagine that a kid would love to just let their imaginations go. And one of the things I always say is so great about Cheekwood for children is it's a place where beyond exercising their thumbs, at Cheekwood they are exercising their legs and their arms and their whole physical being as they experience the outdoors at Cheekwood. Another favorite, particularly for kids and families, is our train exhibition that is outdoors in the Turner Seasons Garden. The Seasons Garden is really focused on showing something special for each season of the year. So really there's a little bit of everything to experience at Cheekwood.
I am Peter Grimaldi. I'm the Vice President of Gardens and Facilities. I work with the Gardens team as well as the Facilities Maintenance team. The total property is 55 acres, and about 50% of that you could say is intensively managed, whether that's turf that you're mowing on a weekly basis or seasonal display beds that you're cultivating and turning over on a regular basis. We do work with an outside designer. I'll kind of pay attention to what's going on throughout the organization, and especially the art exhibitions. So as a creative jumping off point, if you will, we look to what's going on in the museum and try and build a horticultural display that's complementary, at least on sort of a meta thematic level. And that can be based in the color palette or shapes, movement in the display. So it always starts with a big idea or a theme and rough sketches, and then you start coloring in and tweaking things here or there, and sooner or later there are bulbs going in the ground. The color garden is our primary palette for seasonal displays, and it rotates through three primarily. And that kind of emerges in the spring with all of the spring flowering bulbs, tulips, hyacinths, daffodils, and then rotates into a conventional summer annual expression. It's exciting, kind of doing making a point to integrate some tropical plant material, more exotic plant material, and both push the limits of what you can grow and display in in Middle Tennessee, but also just add a little bit more size and texture and dimension or flair to the seasonal displays. And then in the fall, every year, we'll overlay that summer display with mums and pumpkins.
Are there opportunities for folks who are gardeners to perhaps enhance their gardening skills or get involved in the planting of the grounds?
Well, we are always looking for volunteers, so if you want to get your hands dirty, absolutely, just go online to the volunteer section, and we are happy to have assistance. You can imagine there's always work to be done in the garden every day. But there's also opportunities, particularly during the festivals, where we might have workshops that are horticulture related or art related, but opportunities to learn from our staff as well as visiting experts. And as I mentioned, there's multiple flower shows throughout the year. Many garden societies meet at Cheekwood on a regular basis. So yes, absolutely, if you want to get involved, get your hands dirty, we can make that happen.
That's great. Seasonally, you guys have been doing some really interesting, vibrant things there. Dia de los Muertos, even though it was rainy this past time, was wonderful and packed. You've done scarecrows at Halloween, you do certainly the holiday lights, and tell me about the impulse to bring people in to celebrate a given season together.
Well, you're exactly correct. We do 4 seasons of distinct programming. In the spring, it's Cheekwood in Bloom, where the focus is on the tulip display and the daffodils and the hyacinths. But we have a number of, traditions at Cheekwood during that period of time, including our art hop, which is an egg hunt. We have 30,000 eggs out on the property.
Oh my goodness.
And every weekend we try to have music in the garden. People love our beer garden when we open it. Seasonally, in the summer, we typically have an outdoor exhibition that might be a renowned international artist, or it could be storybook playhouses for children. And then in the fall, we have our Harvest at Cheekwood, again when we do El Dia, which is a celebration of the culture of the Hispanic community, and is one of our most highly attended days of the year. We've been doing it almost 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
It is really at the core of most beloved events at Cheekwood. We've also been doing for about 5 years now the Japanese moon viewing, Atsukimi, which is again celebrating our Japanese garden and that culture. An evening event where activities revolve around hopefully seeing the full moon that night. We've had occasions where it's been cloudy and we haven't, but it's still been an incredible celebration of the evening. I think one of our most beloved photo ops at Cheekwood is our pumpkin house.
I do love the pumpkin house.
Everybody loves the pumpkin house, has to get their picture taken with it. And that's really, there's perfect picture opportunities everywhere at Cheekwood. We really are a great Instagram photo location. And probably newest on our seasonal list is our holiday lights program, where we literally have 1 million lights shining at Cheekwood. And this is a time of year when people who haven't been to Cheekwood before frequently come, because it's kind of that entertainment experience. Everybody's looking for something special to do around the holidays. It is becoming very much a tradition in Nashville to experience our holiday lights, which is very much an elegant show. It really takes advantage of the vistas of Cheekwood and the long views.
Trees are wrapped, I think, in different colors.
One tree in front of the mansion has almost 55,000 lights in it alone. So we start putting the lights up in August to open the show around Thanksgiving every year, and then it runs continuously. We have a beautiful poinsettia tree made out of about 500 poinsettias in the mansion. We have carolers every night, of course Santa, and live real reindeer as well every year that are also extremely popular. And then every year we try to do something holiday related or historically related in the mansion as well. So it's a 1 mile continuous walk, barrier free. You start at the entrance and you stop at the mansion, have a hot cocoa along the way, and it's just really, again, an incredible outdoor experience. that delights all the senses.
My name is Natalie Levine. I'm the Director of Education and Interpretation, and I oversee our adult education, youth and family education, and school programs. For little kids, we have our Tuesdays for Tots program, which we run every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to noon, and they get hands-on activities in the gardens, they do art activities, and we have story time 3 times throughout that. Seeing a kid in the garden is amazing, because what we found is that it doesn't matter their background, what they know, if they can read, if they can count, there is something that they can find in a garden that they can relate to. We have a couple of our outreach programs, some of which are more traditional outreach and actually take place outside the school or outside of Cheekwood in the schools. But one of our favorite is Cheekwood Explorations Read, Paint, Plant, which takes place here, and we bring kids in and they literally do all of those things. They read a book, they paint some flowers based on the book that they read, what they see in the gardens, they plant a seed and they take that home with them. There are 5 classrooms, 2 of which are our painting studios. There's a small greenhouse off one of the painting studios. Then we do have the clay studio, 7 wheels, 2 kilns, lots of storage shelves for when we have kids all summer, and we're constantly firing over the summer. So the First Learning Center joins what was the original stable block and the garage. The tack room has been refurnished, the stables have been refurnished, so you can actually go and learn about the horses. 2 that we talk about a lot are Platinum and Rosewood. Those were the 2 favorites. There's also our new cafe, which is Cafe 29, which opened in August of 2018, and that's in the refurnished garage, and it's a beautiful space.
When I first moved to Nashville in the early 2000s, I would go, I think, monthly. Probably it was a summer series, and Cheekwood had something called Temporary Contemporary. I want to say it was every Wednesday for free in the summer, and there was live music, maybe a string quartet or something simple but elegant, and cocktails and so forth. And then in each of the stables, often it was a video artist, and it was just a way to bring younger people in there and have them experience a place that they might not otherwise think to go to, especially on a Wednesday night in the middle of summer in Nashville.
Well, and that's something we're absolutely trying to continue, is to bring everyone to Cheekwood. One of the programs that we have that's truly beloved, that reminds me in some part to what you're describing, is our Artist in Residence program. We have the Martin Schallenberger Artist in Residence program. And once a year we invite an artist to come in and literally create a work that's inspired by Cheekwood for usually up to about a month that they might be in residence. And then their artwork is displayed for several months thereafter. But I know in recent years when we have opened the reception to introduce the artist's work, it's been a free event where everybody's invited to come. Of course, I always have a drink and a cocktail to, walk through the gardens and enjoy the artwork. And sometimes the pieces are out in the garden and sometimes they're in the galleries. We just recently had Gabriel Daw do a wonderful piece. David Brooks is an upcoming artist. Patrick Doherty did an incredible piece of stick works that was really one of the most favorites. So yes, I think the contemporary art is attractive to really every demographic.
You have the large building there, sort of in the center of, I want to say campus, but in the center of your grounds, the Botanical Building. Tell us about some things that happen in there.
That is our Visitors Services Center. So when you arrive, that's where you want to go to become oriented. We use that space often for meetings for flower shows, whether it be the Daffodil Show or the Rose Show. It's also a very popular rental place for weddings, corporate events, a number of different uses. Massey Hall is very much a blank slate, and it can be draped and decorated to be just about anything you want it to be. So it's very much a rental space, and also an area for flower shows, and also orientation.
What could someone newly inspired by Cheekwood do to further your endeavors?
Visit. Just visit. Come out and see us. We hope you'll be inspired to become a member, and that in itself is supporting Cheekwood. Just come see us. I think anyone who does is just marvels at what a hidden treasure is out here in this area of the city. We often refer to ourselves as Nashville's own national treasure.
Jane, we have come to my favorite part of the interview process because I love games.
All right.
This is the speed round
Oh
of
boy.
questions.
Oh boy.
Like we might have played when we were kids, where I ask you a question and the first answer that comes to your mind, let it fly, and we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Okay.
Okay, here we
Let's
go.
go.
Speed round with Jane McLeod. True or false? Running multiple years now, the Cheekwood Holiday Lights experience illuminates the gardens with 1 million lights.
True.
True or false? In 1980, following the movie premiere of Coal Miner's Daughter, a celebration was held in Cheekwood's Botanic Hall featuring Mooney and Loretta Lynn and the actors portraying them, Tommy Lee Jones and Sissy Spacek.
I don't know.
It is true. Isn't that the coolest
Really?
thing?
Wow, I learned something today.
I'll share photos with you. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
What word would you use to describe the hundreds, if not thousands, of individual pieces of blown glass assembled in the 2010 Dale Chihuly exhibit?
Exhilarating.
Ooh. How many guests visit Cheekwood each year? Is it 2,000, 25,000, or 225,000?
225,000.
That is huge. True or false? Cheekwood's grounds include 14 species and 23 varieties of dogwood.
True.
What mark do you want Cheekwood to make on our community?
One that can never be forgotten.
Nice. And last of all, the easiest one, what is your website?
Cheekwood.org.
Easy. Thank you so much, Jane. Awesome.
Thank you.